Good morning to all of you. Thank you all for being here this morning. Every decade has a few milestone magnets that define it. This decade is indeed the decade of startups. The startup ecosystem has attracted thousands of young, talented brains all over the world, and the good news is that India has also joined the race. Software companies brought about the first wave of change in the early 2000s when the demand for human resource in the IT sector was huge. But at that time, the dream of opening a startup was only for a rare breed of brave entrepreneurs. The change really occurred when recession hit the world in 2008 and 9. I was a doctoral fellow in IIM Bangalore at the time. In seminars and workshops, the message was that the impact on the Indian economy was not drastic. But the pressure felt by fresh graduates who had a heavy student loan on their shoulders but no job offers was very real. So that became the spur for people to think different. These disappointed management graduates began India's first foray into the startup ecosystem. India is a young country with almost 65% of the population in the age group of 25 to 35 years. Millennial Indians are strong believers in pursuing their own dreams rather than the safety of a regular paycheck. And the cue came from Silicon Valley with its startup culture. It is only possible in the IT sector for someone to come with a brilliant new software solution or an app and make a viable business proposition out of it. The idea instantly caught the imagination of the young Indian. Moreover, the growth in technology and the fast growing demand for smartphones helped fuel the idea of technology startups. And the age of the startup Indian was born. The Central Department of Science and Technology set up India's first startup village at Kochi as the first PPP model incubator in 2012. It won the center's appreciation for being the best technology incubator after it produced hundreds of startups and created a new model for student and youth entrepreneurship. Today, the success of Startup India is a sterling demonstration of the entrepreneurial spirit of India with 40 plus accelerators, 300 plus angel investors, 6 to 8 early stage funds, 10 to 15 later stage funds, besides various forums and communities to support the startups. According to the NASSCOM report 2017, India is home to 5,000 tech startups and the third largest startup ecosystem after US and UK. Now, India enjoys some significant advantages that we have to recognize. First, demographic dividend. India, with 356 million 10 to 24-year-olds, has a large concentration of youth population. This augurs well for the country as right education and healthcare can see the economy soar. Youth is the driving force behind innovation, creation, and the future leadership of a country. Youth also drives demand and consumption pattern in a country. For startups, youth make up the workforce that it so desperately needs, and going forward, youth can be a huge talent base for startups. Second, unique innovation opportunity. India has a set of problems that need innovations to be homegrown to originate from within the country. Problems around its health, education, infrastructure, sanitation are unique to the country and solutions from the Western world cannot solve it. Each problem provides a unique opportunity for startups to solve some pressing issue and at the same time create a business around it. What helps is that most problems around emerging economies are similar in nature and solutions applicable here can also work in many countries in Africa and Asia. This enables Indian startups to acquire an even bigger scale and at the same time make a meaningful impact around the world. Third, large population. Indian startups need not look overseas for markets. India, with over 1 billion people, presents a very large home market for goods or services. A rising disposable income and growing aspirations of a mushrooming middle class have meant that there is a large appetite for brands. The large population has also led to a consumer expenditure growth, which has in turn propped up supply and production. Startups that look to service and cater to the large population in solving a pain point or providing a utility in one of the world's most important consumer markets stand to do well. 4. High mobile penetration. India's tele-density with almost 80% with a subscriber base touching 100 crore is a great advantage. High mobile penetration in urban and rural India has reshaped the economy of the country, and goods and services are marketed in this way. It has led to greater efficiencies and increased productivity. It has meant that businesses profit through faster decision making, better logistics, and access to bank accounts. Higher mobile penetration has also led to increased financial inclusion and flow of credit to the unbanked. Growth in mobile penetration is transforming the way businesses and consumers communicate and work. With data-enabled mobile phones, the very nature of startups and businesses have changed. For example, startups that develop mobile apps now have an ever-increasing market to cater to. Now, let us take a pause. While it is encouraging to see that India stands abreast with other developing countries, are we really leading the global startup systems, or are we a major player in it? When we refer to the ecosystem, it includes the holistic participation of all stakeholders, including government, venture capitalists, startup entrepreneurs, institutions, and markets. It is incumbent upon government to put in place an ecosystem to create durable human and industrial assets. Some initiatives include single window clearance even with mobile application, rupees 10,000 crore funding, 80% reduction in patent registration fee, modified and more friendly bankruptcy code to ensure 90-day exit window, freedom from inspections, capital gain tax and tax in profits for 3 years, self-certification compliance, innovation hub under Atal Innovation Mission, innovation program starting with 5 lakh schools to target 10 lakh children, and new schemes to provide IPR protection to startups and new firms. However, initiatives and programs of the government are only one aspect of nurturing a vibrant startup ecosystem. To my mind, the more challenging task is to create a culture that accepts and nourishes entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship and startups are only a recent phenomenon in the country. It is only in the last decade and a half that people in the country have moved from being job seekers to job creators. Doing a startup is tough and every country sees more failures than successes. An entrepreneur needs to be prepared to face failures and hardship. However, culturally we are not groomed to fail and failure is frowned upon. It is regarded as the end of the road, not a bump in the road. This tendency stalls many promising entrepreneurial careers and perhaps stops many from even daring to try in the first place. Given that the vast majority of startups fail, Indian business culture must take a good hard look at its tolerance for founders' missteps and encourage the knowledge gained from failure to be applied to future success. Entrepreneurship thrives on celebration, and a society that fails to appreciate business failures stifles innovation and creativity. A startup failure has to be okay, as failures often teach an entrepreneur what to do and what not to do. It is time that the Indian business culture begins to encourage the information gained from failures to be applied to future successes. Given that the vast majority of startup journeys end before taking flight, a business environment must be cultivated wherein limited funding and the lack of a proven business model should not act as constraints.